Curricula around the world has actually been shifting and aligning towards skills as opposed to content. The challenge is that not a single curricula provides a framework for how to accomplish that.
I'm Trish Summers. I'm the head of junior school at Penrhos College in Como, Western Australia. When I first started working in the space with Lee, what was my immediate challenge is that teachers are often overloaded with too many things on their agenda to start with, and the sense of having to implement another thing is always met with huge groans. Even if they support it, it is always a time challenge, it's a management challenge, it's, oh, is this going to be another thing that we just have to add to our agenda? The things that I was looking to improve was critically student engagement. What was the area that we really needed to focus on more fully, implementing a far more rigorous exchange between the learner and their learning.
My name's Nathan Ducker. I'm the Learning Technologies Coordinator for the junior school at Penrhos College. My role was in learning technologies, and forever our focus is on helping staff to be able to capitalise on the possibilities that new technologies bring. So to do that, it requires a shift in pedagogy. And one thing that we noticed was that we were focusing very heavily on what we were doing as teachers, focusing heavily on the curriculum, making sure that we were adhering to and providing the integrity or aligning to the integrity of the curriculum itself. And that focus needed to shift toward the students, and particularly for uses of technology, we needed to be able to, let go, allow students to select and use new technologies. We were doing that to a degree, but it kind of lacked structure or required some sort of a process to better guide students in their learning. But we were having a bit of a go, and there was a need for greater support in making those shifts.
We decided to go with Wabisabi and the work of the Global Digital Citizen almost by accident. Another staff member and myself were at a professional development day, and we, as I said, coincidentally sat through a session that was about the fluencies. So immediately the whole thing of the general capabilities, the 21st century design skills and everything just had this beautiful synchronicity with the fluencies, and we could see that this would be something that we could work with the staff in, which was not another add-on of something different, but actually tapped in and aligned to the already, I suppose, articulated direction that we wished to take. We wanted to move away from a purely content-driven education to one which was looking more at those skills and processes and dispositions that we wanted to foster and nurture in our children.
At the beginning of this process, I did wonder, was this the right model to go with? We looked at the essential fluencies, and we saw that they did align with the general capabilities. They had different terminology, so we were wondering, should we go in this direction if it's something new? We were looking at a number of different design thinking models, in fact, as a part of our initiatives in STEM, and it's through that process that we identified solution fluency. One thing that we saw in this instance when bringing in the essential fluencies and the shifts of practice was that the focus was on learners, and it did encompass everything that we were striving for as far as 21st century skills go, that increased focus on general capabilities, yet at the same time covering the content required for the learning areas in the curriculum.
We also were very aware that staff were very nervous about taking it on because it was a big unknown to them, but we basically trusted their professionalism, their desire to be improving themselves as practitioners in the field, their desire to see that they were providing the best for their students. In the first session, nobody wanted to speak up or engage in it, but gradually by just doing it in an invitational way, and some of our team leaders and some of our passionate and enthusiastic teachers dove right in and had a go at it and had great success. And that was quite inspiring then to their colleagues to also step into that field and take that risk.
My name's Helen Hepworth. I'm the Deputy at Penrhos College in Perth, Western Australia. One of the structures that we put in place was to have regular team meetings. So in my role in terms of overseeing the curriculum and the teaching and learning, we decided to meet fortnightly to use that as a forum to start to look at what the curriculum demands were, because they're still there, it's a requirement, we have to meet the achievement standards. Looking at the fluencies, and staff were happy to select a fluency, and then to start to see how we could actually build the curriculum into the fluencies. And I think what it enabled us to do was to see that we could actually start with a big question. We could get the level of engagement up with the students and the teachers, but we could also see how we could backward map the curriculum to ensure that we were still covering it. And the other thing is that it meant that we were working as a collaborative team. The teachers weren't isolated. They felt that they had the support from leadership and felt confident that they could proceed with developing the fluencies, but knowing that they were still meeting the curriculum requirements.
First major win for me, sitting in my position, was that seeing the teachers have such joy at the increase of engagement of their children learning in their classrooms and their own joy was just wonderful for me. And it was really great to see the joy that these teachers actually got back in their own teaching practice rather than doing their job, which they were doing very well, but it was actually became a very joyful and life-giving experience.
The whole idea of giving kids the agency and the choice. When you give choice and kids can choose their own learning journey, that how much more connected they are, and the joy and the love that they have for what they're doing, and how they wanted to just, be the best that they could be, giving them the opportunity. So we're not always at the front talking. We're actually allowing them to, we plant the seed with the questions and then get them to go away and discuss and then come back and share in a group. So we're all learning from each other.
One of the things that's been really quite astounding, particularly in the last 12 months, is the depth of knowledge that the teachers now have of the curriculum, but they're looking at it through an entirely different lens. And particularly when it comes to the achievement standards and the judging standards, teachers now have an intimate knowledge of what it is that the students are required to learn in the same way that the students do as well.
Seeing the achievement standards on Wabisabi is good because it's kind of like a rubric that you have on paper, so you can see everything you need to do, and it's kind of like the curriculum, so you can achieve to get the best you can and strive for the highest.
Wabisabi helps us to view learning at a different perspective from what we would usually look at it, because most kids are used to the teacher handing you work that she is assigned and you have pretty much one chance to get it right. But in Wabisabi you can do which work you like and you can resubmit it if you're not happy and see what you need to do to get the grade that you want.
Some of the bigger differences that we can notice at the moment, I think, compared to the beginning of this process, the student engagement is probably the most significant change. As Helen mentioned, staff engagement also. That may be because the leadership style has adjusted also to follow along the same lines as the shift of practice that staff are implementing in classrooms for empowering staff when it comes to decision making, creation of teams, but allowing staff to come up with their own solutions, I think has really boosted that engagement and ownership of teaching in that instance. Using tools such as Wabisabi, where right from the start of a unit of work, students are aware of achievement standards and what that might look like. And so they're beginning to work towards that end point right from the start. Everything's out there for people to see. The expectations are clear, and so it's then a matter of the staff being able to, I guess, act more as a facilitator or guide by the side to empower students in their own learning.
So I guess that they understand the need to take responsibility for their own learning. Even as little and young as they are, they've really stepped up and understand that they are the ones who are responsible, and we as teachers are there to facilitate the learning. But I think also having ownership with the process and where their project is going, that really helps them to connect with it better.
The process is really allowed to cater for all the girls in the class. It's really allowed the girls to bring their strengths to other parts and their weaknesses have scaffolded as well, through working as a small group, as a whole class, or just as an individual.
We are developing people who are thinking people, who are critical thinkers. We are not just force-feeding children with content. And the other thing which I think was really striking for me was the sense of total surprise at the actual capacity of the learner. And it didn't matter whether the child was 3 years of age or 12 years of age, the capacity of the learner was absolutely stunning to me. I think I had spent 50 years in education underestimating the capacity of the learners in front of me.
The biggest surprise, I think, in the learners is just how articulate they are in kindy. They come back in from the holidays and they say to me, oh, on the holidays I saw a black Carnaby cockatoo. So they're just going out in the world and they're taking notice. Even for us as adults, we don't really take notice of the world, and they're going out there and they're taking notice.
As a learner, I didn't learn about how to assess my sources or reference properly or ask good questions until I was in university, and these are Year 6 girls aged 10, 11. Quite capably doing this sort of work.
I've heard feedback which says that it's been very life-giving, that they're so happy that they've been able to share the joy. The parents have fed back to the teachers that the children are coming home, asking questions, wanting to take the learning into the home space as well.
Often it's hard to explain, or even for the kids to explain to their parents the inquiry that they're taking in class, whereas your program, they can clearly articulate where they're up to and why they're doing this and where it's going to lead to. So it's quite exciting.
I've also had feedback where teachers have said, oh my goodness, I was doing this and then I thought, I've got to just cut this. This is just not going anywhere. I've taken completely the wrong path. Teachers having the courage to actually say that has been wonderful, and not felt that they're going to be seen as a failure or take some sort of a risk which is going to have some bad outcome for them, but instead of that, being given the trust to move forward in a professional manner that is supported by the leadership.
As teachers, we constantly reflect on our teaching, and you make mistakes, that's fine, and you learn from them, and we all are learning at our own pace, just like the students are.
It's an ongoing journey that we certainly haven't arrived. I don't know that you ever arrive.
I don't think you ever do as a teacher. I gave up arriving a long time ago.
Yeah.
Teaching, I think I'll never arrive, I've decided. But it's an ongoing journey, and you tick the boxes and celebrate when you feel like you've achieved something, and I think the celebrations are when you see the girls really engaged and happy.
That the students now are different in that they drive their learning. They want to take it in the direction that they wish. It's about their passion, it's about their focus in life, it's about them meeting their needs as a learner and a person in the world. So it's not about what we think they should be learning or suits them or whatever. We still have got a curriculum to deliver. However, the ownership on learning is now clearly in the hands of the student. I would tell a school that is thinking of going down this road, that hasn't committed to that process yet, to understand the value of the process and the actual benefits of taking that risk. I would also advise them to really think about their philosophy of education, about their desire to get better, even if they are already good, but to ensure that they are engaging in learning which is now meaningful, rather than us just producing students who are fed content. We are actually now educating our students, and they're educating themselves. We are not just providing a learning environment.
People got into education because they want to make a positive difference in the world. The processes of Wabisabi are processes that will allow them to be successful in their wish. And so I would encourage them to remind themselves of what their wish was when they entered into education, and to know that this is a set of tools that will help them realize that wish while still achieving all of the outcomes, perhaps at an even higher level. We can have it all. We can create citizens for a different world. We can have academic achievement. We can have self-reliant, independent, resilient learners. We can have all of that with less stress if we're just willing to embrace the process.